po yung PowerPoint ko. Okay. So today, focus tayo sa chapter 5 material properties, thin wall pressure vessels, and stress concentrations. So ngayon, concept, then tomorrow, so tsaka tayo magpa-problem solving for chapter 5. So puro concepts muna. So after studying this chapter, you should be able to do the following. So determine the different properties of material using material testing. So determine how to calculate stresses in thin wall pressure vessels and calculate stresses with concentrations of the stress considerations pala of the stress concentrations. So una, material properties. Isa-isahin muna natin itong chapter 5 na to. So material properties, so crucial siya in engineering because they determine how a material behaves under various conditions. So this includes property, yung mechanical properties natin, thermal properties, electrical, chemical. So understanding these properties helps engineers select the right materials for specific application. So ensuring reliability, efficiency, and safety in products ranging from bridges to electronic devices. So next, thin wall pressure vessels. So si thin wall pressure vessels are used to store fluids under high pressure. So their design is essential in industries like yung mga petrochemical natin, power generations, and aerospace. So yung mga JG Summit. So the thin wall pressure vessels natin allow for efficient material use while maintaining strength. And lastly, yung stress concentrations natin occurs at point where there is a sudden change in geometry, such as yung mga holes natin or biglang merong sharp corners. So these localized high stress areas can lead to material failure, making it essentially to identify and mitigate them in design. So next na tayo, material properties. So pag sinabing material properties, it refers to the characteristics or attributes of materials that determine how they respond to external forces or conditions. Okay? So first, mechanical property. So it includes strength, elasticity, hardness, toughness, ductility, and yung ating brittleness. So they describe how a material reacts to mechanical forces like yung mga tension natin, compression, and shear. Second one is thermal properties. So thermal properties, so it includes thermal conductivity, expansion, heat capacity, and yung mga melting point natin. So ito naman, dinedetermine natin yung material natin kung paano mag-behave pag nagbago tayo ng temperature. Next is electrical properties. So it includes conductivity, resistivity, dielectric strength. So they characterize a material's ability to conduct or to insulate electric currents. So optical properties, dalawa yung mga refractive index or reflectivity, transparency, and absorption. So they describe how a material interacts with light. So next is chemical properties. So it includes corrosion resistance reactivity and yung mga chemical stability natin. So this define how a material responds to chemical exposure or reaction. And lastly, meron tayong physical properties. So physical properties, it includes density, porosity, permeability, and yung ating color. So they describe intrinsic attributes independent of the external force. So sa lahat ng material properties na to, so magfo-focus lang tayo sa mechanical properties. Kaya nga tayo deform, di ba? Ang una nating or yung midterms natin is mga tension, compression, shear. Yung ating diniscuss. So, sa mechanical properties, under mechanical properties lang. Kasi they describe how a material reacts to mechanical force. Yung mga tension na natin, tensile stress, compressive stress, shear stress. So, dito lang tayo mag-focus. So, si mechanical properties are essential in understanding how materials respond to external forces or loads. So, ano bang example ng mechanical properties natin? So, nandito yung mga stress or yung mga strength natin. So, pag sinabing strength, ito yung ability ng material natin to resist deformation and failure under applied forces. So, dalawa yung ating strength. Three. So, pwede siyang tensile, compressive, and shear strength. Pag sinabing tensile, so resistance to being pulled apart. Pag compressive, resistance to being squished or compressed. Pag shear strength, resistance to sliding motion. So, under mechanical properties, meron din tayong elasticity, plasticity, hardness, toughness, ductility, fatigue resistance, and creep. Okay? So, magpo-proceed na ako sa next slide. So, tinaman yung mga laboratory test for mechanical properties. So, again, doon lang tayo sa mechanical properties. So, tensile stress, compression stress, test, shear test, torsion test, impact test, fatigue test, and hardness test. Okay? So, pag sinabing tensile test, measures a material's response to uniaxial tensile stress. So, ang procedure nito, yung sample natin or yung material natin is being pulled apart until it breaks. So, pag compression test naman, determines a material's behavior under compressive load. So, yung material natin is being compressed until it deforms or fracture. Pag shear test naman, it evaluates a material's response to shear stress. So, a sample or a material is subjected to forces that cause sliding failure along a plane or plane parallel to the force. Next is torsion. So, assess a material's behavior under torsional or twisting stress. So, ang sample nito is yung mga or ang material natin is twisted until it fails. Next is impact test. Ito naman yung measures a material's toughness and ability to absorb energy during a sudden impact. So, ang material is struck by a pendulum or hammer. Ang example nito. And yun. And the energy absorbed is measured. So, impact test yung ginagawa. Next is fatigue test. So, determines a material's durability under cyclic loading. So, ang best example ng fatigue test is yung ating, ano ba yung mga repeated loadings natin, di ba? Katulad nung sa bridge. Di ba? Pag may mga dumadaang sasakyan. So, pwedeng kotse, pwedeng truck. So, meron tayong cyclic loadings. So, yun. A material is subjected to repeated loadings and unloading cycle until it fails. Next is C hardness test. So, it evaluates a material's resistance to deformation, particularly indentation. So, an indenter, ang sample nito is an indenter, is pressed into the material surface and yung size and yung depth niya of the indentation is measured. So, sa lahat ng test natin to for mechanical properties, so ang best material natin is si metal. So, bakit po si metal? Or sige, idagdag na natin si polymer at si composites. So, kaya best material para matest dito sa laboratory test for mechanical properties is si metal, si polymers, and si composites. So, yung materials na to is often used for tensile strength kasi yung tensile strength nito is critical unlike sa other material. So, pati din meron din tayong pag nakaka-experience ng mga twisting, di ba? Forces. So, di ba yung mga ginagamit para sa twisting or sa equipments natin? na kayang mag-twist, 'di ba? Yung mga shafts, yung mga axles, 'di ba? Kasi meron din silang impact resistance. So, used in safety critical application. So, pag sinabing safety critical, kumbaga meron tayong extra barrier. Kaya nga, safety critical. So, kung sa normal, kumbaga non-critical, ang tinatawag, non-critical application. So, ito yung hindi natin need ng extra barriers. Pero pag sinabi nating safety critical application yan, need na natin ng extra barriers. Okay? Yan. So, next is CUTM or C Universal Testing Machine. So, I think madidiscuss nyo to sa materials nyo. So, itong device na to used to test mechanical properties. Again, focus lang tayo sa mechanical. Mechanical properties of materials, components, and structure. So, itong UTM, it can perform various tests such as tensile, compression, flexural shear, hardness, and torsion. So, lahat ng yon. Kaya nga, coming from the word itself, Universal Testing Machine. So, si Universal Testing Machine, meron siyang dalawang types. Una is si electromechanical UTM and si hydraulic. So, pag electromechanical, use electric motors for precise and fast testing. So, ito naman is suitable for a wide range of application. Then, pag hydraulic naman, so, dito is para ma-generate yung higher forces na hindi kaya ng electromechanical UTMs. So, it is ideal naman yung ating hydraulic UTMs for testing high-strength materials. Okay? So, sige, nood tayo ng video kung ano yung Universal Testing Machine.
You may have heard about universal testing machines, also known as tensile testing machines. But what are these machines? What are they used for? And do you need one? Universal testing machines are designed to test the mechanical properties of materials, components, and products. They can be powered by either electromechanical or hydraulic means to perform different types of testing, such as tensile, compression, bend, peel, and tear testing. Universal testing machines are used to evaluate materials like plastics, metals, elastomers, and composites. This means they are used for many purposes and in many industries, including the automotive, aerospace, electronics, packaging, and biomedical industries. Universal testing machines are a versatile and important part of any product design and manufacturing process because they are used to make sure that the materials being used and the final product meet the required specifications. To ensure consistency between different manufacturers, specifications for testing different materials and products are often governed by national and international standards organizations, such as ISO and ASTM. Universal testing machines are used during several stages of product development. During the research and development phase, they might be used to determine which materials should be used. After production, quality assurance labs use them to verify a product's quality before it goes to market. For example, tire manufacturers need to make sure that elastomers meet their requirements for elasticity. And they need to confirm that the rubber used in tires will behave properly under a wide variety of temperatures and conditions. Aerospace manufacturers need to make sure that the composites used to construct an airplane wing will flex properly without breaking. Metal used in construction needs to be strong enough to bear the weight required by the project design. And every component in a consumer product, even the screen on your phone, needs to be durable and impact resistant. Some products, such as medical devices, come with a high cost of failure. These products are highly regulated by government bodies like the FDA and are required to pass rigorous testing before they can go to market. Universal testing machines can perform a number of important mechanical tests, such as tensile, compression, peel, tear, friction, bend, and shear. These tests tell us about the mechanical properties of a material or component. How strong and stiff it is, how much it can elongate or stretch, how much it can compress, and how much it can flex before breaking. They can also measure the strength of an adhesive bond. The data produced by universal testing machines include measurements of a material's modulus of elasticity, yield point, flexural modulus, ultimate tensile strength, and more. To learn more about universal testing machines, how they work,
Okay, so sa UTM, okay, Universal Testing Machine, so kahit ano pwede dyan. Tensile, compression, flexural, shear, hardness, and torsion. So, maalin, kung alam ba, gusto mo tensile, so, lagay mo lang, pang tensile. So, iset mo lang, di ba? So, sobrang useful or hindi ko sure kasi kung okay pa yung UTM sa BSU, so sa ating school. So, yun, sana magamit nyo yun kasi para mas ma-appreciate nyo yung ating yung mga stress. Okay, kung paano mag-behave yung bawat materials under different tests. So, try mo metals. Basta metals ang best material para sa lahat ng test. So, wait lang. Reshare lang ako ng screen. Okay. So, next. So, ito ang tinatawag na true stress strain diagram for ductile material lang. Okay? So, for ductile lang to. Focus lang muna tayo sa ductile. So, dito, meron tayong sigma or yung ating stress strain. Diba? So, pag sinabi stress, again, stress is the internal force per unit area within a material. For strain, ito naman yung deformation or yung displacement per unit length of a material. So, again, makikita nyo meron tayong dalawang behavior, yung elastic behavior and yung plastic behavior. So, palitan natin yung behavior ng region. Elastic region and plastic region. Okay? So, yun. Nasa taas naman yung elastic region. So, dito, gawin natin siyang plastic region. So, unang point. So, makikita nyo, meron tayong unang point dito. Yan. Ito yung proportional limit. So, ano ba itong proportional limit? So, the initial linear portion of the curve where stress is directly proportional to strain. Okay? So, it follows Hooke's law. So, meaning nasa elastic region tayo, so yung material natin will return to its original shape kahit na-remove na yung ating load. Okay? So, una is elastic or proportional limit. Next is elastic limit. So, ito, nasa elastic region pa rin siya. So, yung region na magbe-behave elastically or the material behaves elastically and no permanent deformation occurs. Again, it will return to its original shape. So, maglalagay tayo ng load. Pagkalagay ng load, syempre, medyo parang makikita mo, nagde-deform siya, di ba? Pero pag inalis mo yung load, babalik yun sa original length or original shape basta within ka sa elastic region. So, sa yield stress naman, yield stress. Nakita nyo, meron ditong yield stress. So, start na tayo ng plastic behavior or dito nasa plastic region na tayo. So, kahit yan ay lumabis lang ng 0.000001 yung ating force, di ba? Or yung load na in-apply natin, kahit labis lang siya ng 0.0001. Sobrang liit. So, mangyayari, magkakaroon na tayo ng plastic behavior. So, paano pag plastic? Hindi na siya elastic. So, kaya nasa plastic region. Ano bang plastic behavior na siya? Ano yung plastic behavior? So, ito, pag naglagay ako ng load, okay? Pag naglagay ako ng load sa material natin, makikita mo nag-deform, di ba? Pag inalis mo, hindi na siya babalik sa original shape or do sa original length. Meron na tayong permanent deformation. So, doon nag-start sa yield point, the point at which the material begins to deform plastically. So, beyond this point, permanent deformation occurs even if the load is already removed. Okay? So, yung region na to, yung region na where the material undergoes plastic deformation na or the material does not return to its original shape after the load is removed. Next, taas na tayo dito sa ultimate stress, di ba? Do sa point na ultimate, sorry. Ultimate stress, again, itong plastic behavior hanggang ma-fracture na to. Ultimate stress or ultimate tensile strength. So, ito naman yung maximum stress that can or that the material can withstand. So, it indicates the maximum load carrying capacity of the material. So, dito sa graph, makikita nyo yung stress, di ba? Yung tensile strength. So, ito na yung pinakamataas. Or ito na yung maximum load na kaya niya. So, after mong ma-encounter or pag nandito ka na sa graph na to, sa ultimate stress, so, dito, meron na tayong necking. So, yung necking is itong nandito na sa tabi na photo. Okay? Magkakaroon tayo ng necking. So, yung region na to, ito yung cross-section area, sorry. Yeah. Yung cross-section area of the material begins to significantly decreases. So, magkakaroon tayo ng, neck. Dito. Okay? So, bago tayo magkaroon ng, or after natin magkaroon ng necking, ang mangyayari ay fracture stress. Nagfe-fail na yung ating material or nasisira na siya. Okay? From elastic, again, elastic region, it will return to its original shape after subjected to loads. Pag plastic behavior, nasa plastic region na siya, hindi na. Magde-deform na siya or meron siyang permanent deformation. So, dito, lumampas ka lang sa iyong yield stress. Yan, tuloy-tuloy na yan. Until ma-reach mo yung ating ultimate stress. Pag sinabing ultimate stress, ito na yung maximum load. Kaya ito yung pinakamataas sa ating graph. Ito yung maximum load na kaya ng material natin bago mag-fail yung ating material. Okay? Ma'am, question, bakit sa ductile or nakafocus ka lang sa ductile material? So, kasi po, sa stress strain diagram ng brittle material, so, alisin natin itong yielding at saka strain hardening. Okay? Dito sa pag-brittle to imagine nyo, inalis natin yung yielding and strain hardening dito sa graph. Pag-brittle material. Nagkaroon ka lang ng elastic at biglang fracture na. Diba? Pag-brittle. Kasi bakit? For example, sa glass. Diba? Brittle yon. Naglagay ka ng load, 5 newtons. Tinanggal mo yung load. 5 newtons, tinanggal mo yung load, bumalik. Ganun pa rin. Walang nabago. Ginawa mo, nagdagdag ka pa, nag-add ka pa ng 1 newton na force. So, magiging 6 newtons, di ba? Inakita mo biglang nasira or nag-fracture, na-deform agad. Or hindi na siya deform, nasira na talaga agad siya. Nag-fracture na siya. So, yun yung brittle for brittle material. Brittle materials typically have a linear stress-strain relationship up to the point of fracture. Okay? So, meaning brittle material exhibits little to no plastic deformation before fracturing. Walang magkakaroon ng necking dyan sa brittle material natin. Walang necking dyan. Walang mga yield stress strain hardening. Kasi, yung transition ng ating brittle materials abruptly from elastic deformation to fracture. Fracture agad eh. Without significantly yielding. Kumbaga, wala tong warning. Wait lang. So, wala man lang warning ang brittle material na, uy, magfa-fracture na ako. Uy, ako ay masisira na. Unlike sa ductile, or sa ductile, di ba? Magwa-warning pa yan, magkakaroon pa yan ng necking bago mag-fail yung ating material. Itong brittle, the fracture occurs suddenly and without warning once the ultimate tensile strength is exceeded. So, itong yung behavior na to makes brittle materials more prone to catastrophic failure under stress. Okay? So, kaya ang nilagay ko dito is ductile. Kasi, sa brittle material, ayusin mo lang naman yung yielding and strain hardening. Diyan, from elastic to fracture agad. Kasi yun nga, gugulat ka na lang na naglagay ka ng load, sira na agad pag brittle. Okay, so next. So, ductile. So, materials can exhibit significant differences in their stress-strain diagrams based on their mechanical properties. So, sa ductile, materials muna tayo. So, ang example nito, itong mga steel, aluminum, copper, yan, platinum. So, these materials show a pronounced yield point and a large plastic deformation region before fracture. Kumbaga, ito yung may warning signs. Ang warning natin ay necking before fracturing. So, materials that can undergo significant plastic deformation before fracturing. So, nagpo-possess sila ng mga high ductile to, ability to stretch or bend without breaking, typically have a long plastic region in the stress-strain diagram. So, ito, percentage elongation is equal to final length minus original length over original length times 100%. Pag area, percentage reduction or area reduction is equal to original area minus final area over original area times 100%. So, tomorrow, gagamitin natin yung mga formulas na madidiscuss natin para sa problem solving. Next, brittle materials. So, ang example nito, ayan, mga cast iron, ceramics, glass, bricks, porcelain, graphite, yan. So, these materials have a very small or no plastic region. So, ito nga yung walang warning signs. Bigla na lang magbe-break or mag-fracture yung iyong material. So, the stress-strain curve naman dito is steep and linear up to the fracture point. So, indicating that they break suddenly without significant deformation. So, bigla na lang, makikita mo na masisira ng walang warning signs. Next one is the polymers. So, polymers can show a variety of stress-strain behaviors depending on their structure. So, some may exhibit significant elastic deformation followed by yielding and plastic deformation, while others naman may behave more like brittle material. Kumbaga, depende sa structure ng ating polymers. So, yung definition ng polymers natin, yun yung mga large molecules composed of repeating structural units or yung mga monomers natin. So, pwede siyang ductile, pwedeng brittle. So, it can exhibit a wide range of mechanical behaviors. Yan nga, from ductile to brittle, depending on their structure and temperature. Nakadepende sa kanila. Okay? Next is si composite. So, yan, yung mga composite natin, ang best example natin is si fiberglass. So, composites show complex stress-strain behavior due to its combination of different materials. So, combination na to. So, they can exhibit high strength and stiffness with varying degrees of ductility. So, materials made from two or more constituent materials with significantly different physical or chemical properties. So, again, depende din sa kung anong materials ang pinagsama mo. So, pwede siya maging ductile, pwede maging brittle. Next is si elastomers. Ito na yung elastomers. Ang best example nito, rubber and silicone. Okay? So, ito naman, imagine nyo, 'di ba kanina meron tayong stress strain diagram. So, dito mas mahaba ang iyong elastic region kasi rubber na to. Silicone na to kasi si elastomers shows large elastic deformation. Okay? Large elastic deformation with a relatively flat stress strain curve in the elastic region. They can stretch. Okay, kahit gaano mo stretch yan, babalik at babalik pa rin yan sa dati. Pero, syempre, may yield stress pa rin tayo, di ba? May ultimate stress pa rin tayo. They can stretch significantly before breaking. Dito, may warning signs pa rin to. So, polymers with viscoelasticity generally having low Young's modulus and high failure strain. So, dito, meron ding effects ang ating temperature sa stress strain diagram. Okay? So, for example, yun nga ito, sa elastomers, yung mga elastic modulus o yung stiffness. So, the elastic modulus typically decreases pag mataas ang temperature mo, nagde-decrease yung elastic modulus. Pag nag-decrease yung elastic modulus, making the material less stiff and more flexible, magiging rubber. Okay? So, low temperature, pag mababa ang temperature natin, yung elastic modulus natin will increase, making the material stiffer and more brittle. Okay? Kumbaga may effect pa rin yung ating temperature or yung thermal. So, yield strength. So, pag sa yield strength naman, so, pagtaas ng temperature, pagbaba ng ating yield strength. And pagbaba ng ating temperature, pagtaas ng ating yield strength. So, you're requiring higher stress, di ba, to initiate plastic deformation. So, again, yung ating stress strain diagram, focus lang tayo sa ductile material. Okay, so dun sa may necking, yung may warning signs. Next one is Hooke's law. So Hooke's law is a fundamental principle in mechanics that describes the linear relationship between the force applied to a material and the resulting deformation, provided that the material remains within its elastic limit. So dito sa Hooke's law, 'di ba? Yung una kong sinabi dito sa Yan. Sa ating stress strain diagram. So, itong part na elastic behavior or si elastic region, yung proportional limit na yon, basta nasa elastic region ka, it follows Hooke's law. Okay? So, Hooke's law states that yung strain in a material is directly proportional to the applied stress within the elastic limit only. Okay? Hooke's law, nasa elastic limit lang tayo. So, pag sinabing elastic limit, maximum stress that a material can withstand without undergoing permanent deformation. Again, pag lumampas ka ng konti sa elastic limit, so the material will not return to its original shape when the load is removed. And yung ating Hooke's law no longer applies. So, meaning, ang Hooke's law lang ay para sa elastic region or elastic behavior. Yan. So, mabalik na ulit ako dito. So, stress is equal to Young's modulus or ito yung measurement ng stiffness ng material natin or pwede din natin tawagin yung Young's modulus natin na modulus of elasticity kasi nasa elastic region lang times yung ating strain. Okay? So, Hooke's law assumes a linear relationship between stress and strain. So, it does not account for the effects of the temperature on the material properties. So, again, Hooke's law pang elastic region. While ito namang si strain hardening pang plastic region na to. So kung kanina Hooke's law, elastic region or elastic behavior, strain hardening is plastic region or plastic behavior. So strain hardening is also called as yung ating work hardening. So siya yung process that increases the strength and the hardness of a material through plastic deformation. It occurs when a material is plastically deformed, causing an increase in dislocation density. So, yung process na to makes the material harder and stronger. So, bakit po? Kasi, strain hardening or yung work hardening natin begins once the material exceeds its yield point. Okay? So, ang application nito is mga metalworking, manufacturing, machining, diba? Yung mga rolling, drawing, bending. So, utilize strain hardening to enhance the mechanical properties. Pwede din siyang pang-improve ng strength and durability of component. Or yung mga pag sa machining, it helps in selecting appropriate machining strategies to avoid undesirable hardening of workpieces. So, example nito, best example is yung metal or yung copper na. Copper. Copper is cold work. So, yung dislocation density increases, making it harder and stronger. So, yung process na to is beneficial for applications requiring high strength and durability. Si work hardening. So, ang reverse ng strain hardening or work hardening, di ba? Ginagawa nating stronger and harder yung ating material. So, gagawin naman natin para ma-reverse yung strain hardening is annealing. So, pag sinabing annealing, heating the material to a high temperature allows this location to rearrange and reduce its density. So, nire-restore niya yung ating material's original properties. Again, Hooke's law, elastic, strain hardening, nasa plastic deformation na tayo. Next is strain energy. So, strain energy, ito yung energy stored in a material due to deformation under applied forces. So, meron tayong dalawang types ng strain energy. First is si elastic. So, syempre, elastic, nasa elastic region tayo. Elastic strain energy, energy stored when the material is deformed within its elastic limit. So, this energy is fully recoverable when the load is removed. So, pwede to nating ma-recover yung ating energy pag nasa elastic limit. So, tinatawag nga siyang elastic strain energy. While for plastic strain energy, energy absorbed when the material is deformed beyond its elastic limit. So, leading to permanent deformation. So, yung energy na to is not fully recoverable. Pag plastic na, syempre, nasa, kumbaga, na-deform na eh. So, hindi na yung ganong, kumbaga, yung original energy, hindi na katulad after mo pa ma-deform plastically. Okay? So, the energy is not fully recoverable. So, strain energy varies yan based on the type of loading applied to a material. So, ang kanyang formula dito is we have strain energy is equal to 1/2 times stress squared over yung Young's modulus natin. Okay? Dito sa second formula, ito ay for linearly elastic materials only. Again, magkaiba ang elastic region sa plastic region na. So, una muna elastic, then plastic. So, for ductile material or ductile material. Next one, modulus of resilience. Coming from the word itself, resilience. So, yung modulus of resilience, ito naman yung amount of energy per unit of volume that a material can absorb without undergoing permanent deformation. So, it represents yung area under the stress strain curve up to the elastic limit only. So, 'di ba? Anong Wait lang. Ayan. So, Young's modulus natin, di ba, yun ay modulus of elasticity. So, dito sa resilience or modulus of resilience, so, nandun lang tayo sa elastic limit, meaning, yung ating strain energy is elastic strain energy. So, it indicates the material's ability to absorb energy elastically and return to its original shape in yung ating original energy when the load is remove. Okay? Coming from the word itself, resilience. Ano pag sinabing resilience? So, yun yung capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. So, sabi sa Google, di ba? So, ganun din dito. Kaya nga na sa elastic region. Kasi, bumabalik sa original shape kahit yung ating load ay naalis na. So, yun yung modulus of resilience. Next is modulus of toughness. So, pag sinabing modulus of toughness, ito yung total amount. So, buo na. Consider na natin yung energy ng ating stress-strain diagram. So, buo na to. There is a total amount of energy per unit volume that a material can absorb before fracturing. So, it represents the entire area under the stress-strain curve up to the fracture point. So, di ba meron tayong different or di ba tayo meron dalawang types ng strain energy. Ngayon, sa modulus of toughness, kinonsider niya yung buong energy na nasa stress-strain diagram. Di ba meron yung elastic region and meron tayong plastic region. So, meron din tayong elastic strain energy and plastic strain energy. So, yung elastic plus yung ating plastic strain energy, so yun na yung total amount of energy. So yun na yung tinatawag na modulus of toughness. So next one, Poisson's ratio. So pag sinabing Poisson's ratio, ito yung fundamental material property that describes the relationship between the axial strain and the lateral strain. Again, meron tayong formula for Poisson's ratio na negative lateral strain over the axial strain or the longitudinal strain. So, it is the ratio nga ng ating lateral and axial strain sa material when stretch or compressed. So, dito sa figure natin, meron tayong rubber block. So, it is compressed, negative strain. So, paano pag kinompress natin? Magkakaroon tayo ng, so, tataba yung ating material, di ba? Pag in-elongates naman natin, di ba? Halimbawa, pa-stretch naman. Imagine nyo, nag-exert tayo ng tension, tensile force. So, mag-i-stretch yung material natin. Ano mangyayari sa width? Liliit, di ba? So, magiging narrow. It gets narrower. So, pag kinompress naman natin, pag compress naman, iikli yung ating length, pero yung width natin lalaki, di ba? Pag positive ang Poisson's ratio mo. Okay? Pag positive, paano man pag negative? Kasi may negative. Minsan kasi may ma-solve ka na negative Poisson's ratio. So, pag sinabing negative Poisson's ratio, it is a unique and interesting property found in the certain material known as auxetic material. Ngayon, tinatawag ay auxetic material. So, sige. Panoorin natin yung negative Poisson's ratio. Saglit lang. Okay. So, ito, pag negative ang nakuha nyo sa Poisson's ratio. So, bakit? Ano napansin nyo dito? Diba? Pag kinompress nyo, ano mangyayari sa width? Diba? Pag normal na material.
New Whisper Day and Night Protect. Longer pad for up to 100% leak protection.
Ulitin natin. So, pag positive yung ating Poisson's ratio, pag compress mo, diba? Pag kinompress mo sa Excel natin, sa figure natin kanina, pag kinompress mo, tataba yung material natin. Lalaki yung width. Dito, kinompress niya. Ano nangyari sa width? Siya ay lumiit din. Or nag-narrow din, di ba? So, a negative Poisson's ratio means that when a material is stretched, di ba? Pag in-stretch, so it expands laterally or it gets wider. And when compressed, so katulad nito, compressed, it contracts laterally. It gets narrower. Okay? So, this is opposite to behavior of the most material natin, which become thinner when stretched and thicker when compressed. So, di ba yun yung normal? Pag in-stretch natin, nagkakaroon ng thinner siya. Pag kinompress natin, thicker. Pag in-stretch natin, thinner. Dito sa negative Poisson's ratio, pag kinompress natin, ano nangyari? Nagkaroon ng thinner, naging thin. Diba? Pag in-stretch naman natin, nagiging thick. O yan, no? So, ito yung auxetic material. Pag negative, yung nakuha mong Poisson's ratio. Wait lang. Yan. So, yan. Yung mga typical values ng Poisson's ratio. Diba? Pag metal, 0.25 and to 0.35. Pag polymers, 0.4 to 0.5. Pag ceramics naman, 0.1 to 0.2. And pag rubber, close na to 0.5. Again, pag negative, so unique na yan unique yung material. Pag negative. Okay, next. Shear stress strain diagram. So, kung kanina may true stress strain diagram, ito shear stress strain diagram. So, dito, so, ganun din. Katulad lang din siya ng true stress strain. Meron din tayong proportional limit, may elastic region, yield point, plastic region, ultimate shear stress, fracture point. So, ang difference lang, ang kinaibahan lang nito is that ito is shear. Yung kanina is stress mismo. Okay? Yan, creep. So, creep. So, it is a time-dependent deformation of materials under constant stress, typically occurring at high temperature. So, pag sinabing creep, it is also known as the cold flow, or it is gradual and permanent deformation of a material. So, katulad nun, when a material has to support a load for a very long period of time. So, ito yung creep. Pag yung material natin, kailangan mag-support ng napakahabang panahon. It may continue to deform until a sudden fracture occurs. So, isipin nyo na lang na, halimbawa, kayo, pinahawak kayo ng baso lang. Walang lamang tubig yun baso. 24 hours mo nga hawakan. So, ano mangyayari? Sa unang oras, ang madali lang, nadadalian kasi magaan lang naman. Pero ano mangyayari sa after mga 6 hours, unti-unti ka nang nangangalay, no? Parang bigat na ng baso, parang parang sinasalin ng tubig yung baso. Kahit wala naman talaga siyang tubig. Diba? Kasi bumibigat. So, yun yung tinatawag na creep. Kung dapat yung material mo has to support a load for a very, very, very long period of time. Okay, next, fatigue failure. So, it is a common critical issue in material science and engineering. So, characterized by progressive and localized structural damage that occurs under cyclic loading. So, ito na yung ang best example nito is yung mga tulay or bridge. Diba? Pag may dumadaang sasakyan, pwedeng kotse, pwedeng motor, pwedeng truck. So, iba-iba, 'di ba? Fatigue failure kasi refers to the weakening and eventually fracture of a material due to repeated stress cycle. Okay? Repeated na siya. Repeated stress cycle below the material's ultimate strength. So, it involves the initiation and propagation of cracks over time leading to structural failure. So, yan. Next. Yan. Tin-walled pressure vessel. So, dito sa tin-walled pressure vessels or containers designed to hold fluids or gases under pressure. So, where yung ating wall thickness is small compared to the vessel's radius. So, ano ba yung limiting criteria ng ating tin-walled pressure vessels? So, T or the thickness over the diameter, pag siya ay less than or equal to 0.1, tinatawag siyang tin-walled pressure vessel. So, pag nag-exceeds or pag naging greater than 0.1 to, so hindi na siya tin-walled. Ang tawag na natin ay thick. Okay? Thick-walled pressure vessel. So, ano yung mga assumption ng tin-walled pressure vessel natin? So, una is uniform stress distribution. So, the stress is assumed to be uniformly distributed across the wall thickness. So, pag mga plain stress condition naman, the stress varies insignificantly across the wall thickness and the material is assumed to behave elastically with small deformation. So, ano ba yung applications ng ating tin-walled pressure vessels? So, una is power generation. So, pwede siyang mga boilers, diba? Yung mga boilers natin, reactors, where high pressure steam is generated. Next, pwede din siyang fuel containers used in storage tanks for liquid and gaseous fuels. And last is pressurized gas storage. So, ito yung mga tangke for storing gases like oxygen and nitrogen. So, yun yung mga tin-walled pressure vessel natin. So, again, meron tayong 3 types ng tin-walled pressure vessel. First is si tangential stress or yung ating circumferential stress. So, as you can see, hinati natin yung ating tank sa dalawa. Okay? Sa left and right. So, hoop stress is a type of stress experienced by the wall of a cylindrical or spherical pressure vessel when subjected to internal pressure. Pag sinabi ng hoop stress, it is the stress acting tangentially to the circumference of a cylindrical or spherical vessel, and it is also perpendicular to the axial direction and serve to counter the bursting effect caused by internal pressure. So, consider yung tanke na shown being subjected to an internal pressure P, diba? Then, meron daw tayong length ng tank na L, and yung ating wall thickness na T. So, isolating the right half of the tank, so pag magkakaroon tayo ng formula na yan, hoop stress is equal to pressure times the inside diameter over 2 times the thickness. So, if there is or meron siyang external pressure, so, an internal pressure, magkakaroon ng so, ang bago nating formula, itong second formula. So, hoop stress is equal to internal pressure, internal pressure nga minus external pressure times diameter over 2 times the thickness. So, wait lang guys. So, yan. So, yung tangential stress, so ano bang mga application nito? Yung mga pipelines used to transport fluids, gases under pressure, requiring careful design to manage hoop stress. So, meron din tayo storage tanks designed to hold liquids and gases where hoop stress calculation ensures safety and reliability. Next is pressure vessel. Yun, yung used in industries such as chemical processing, power generation, and aerospace. So, ito yung ating formula for tangential stress or circumferential stress o yung hoop stress. Kinap natin sa dalawa yung ating pressure vessel. Okay? So, tomorrow, problem solving tayo dito. Next is si longitudinal stress. So, dito, ang kinonsider naman natin dito is yung dalawang end, di ba? Yung dalawang end ng ating pressure vessel. So, ito, it's either tension or compression. Or pwede mong i-compress or pwedeng stretch. Di ba? Longitudinal stress is the internal stress that occurs when a force is applied parallel to the longitudinal axis of a material, causing it's either nga to stretch or to compress. Pwede siyang tensile stress or pwede siyang compressive stress. So, consider the free body diagram in the transverse section. So, ito, ginagamit to or ang application nito is yung mga beam natin. Diba? Beam, column. So, syempre, pag tinayo mo to, pwede siyang ma-stretch, pwede siyang ma-compress. Diba? So, para compute mo yung longitudinal stress, so, yun na. Pressure times diameter over 4 times thickness. So, ito, over 4 to, yung ating hoop stress is over 2T. Okay? So, hindi mo naman gagamitin yung hoop stress, no, para sa column or beam. Kasi hindi naman natin hinahati yung column or beams, di ba? Pang longitudinal stress yon, kumbaga pang compressive yung beams natin or column. Next is spherical vessels. So, spherical pressure vessel is a type of container designed to hold fluids or gases under pressure. So, characterized by its spherical shape. So, it is a container with, used to store gases, liquids under pressure. Basta meron siyang spherical shape. So, dito, same lang siya, ang formula, pressure times diameter over 4T. Okay? Next is for joint seams. So, ano ba itong for joint seams? So, ito naman yung mga, hindi natin maiiwasan na yung ating material, hindi nakalibet, hindi naka-weld, diba? So, ito yung tinatawag na for joint seam. So, for halimbawa daw, nasabi sa problem na it is riveted, blah, 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 blah. So, magkakaroon ka ng joint efficiency. Okay? So, ita-times mo yun sa denominator mo, yung joint efficiency. So, when these vessels are made with welded or riveted joints, so as they usually are, talaga naman, diba? So, the weakness of the joint as compared with the parent is cared for by a joint efficiency. So, to take care, para maiwasan din natin na magkaroon ng weakened joints, so both circumferential and longitudinal stress is multiplied by its joints or joint efficiency. So, magmumultiply ka lang sa denominator ng joint efficiency. So, kalimitan namang given sa problem yon. So, for joint seam, ito yung mga mayroong mga welded or riveted joints ng pressure vessel natin. Okay. So, yan. So, to summarize, ulit, yung ating discussion today. So, diniscuss natin yung material properties. So, yung mga material properties, yung mga mechanical properties, thermal, electrical, optical, chemical, and physical. So, nag-focus lang tayo sa mechanical. So, yun nga, may mga test tayo, tensile, compression, shear, torsion, and impact. The next, discuss din natin is yung ating stress-strain diagram. So, magkaiba ang ductile and brittle na stress-strain diagram since yan wala namang wala mga necking na nangyari sa brittle material. So, si ductile, so siya ay, kumbaga may warning sign siya, nagne-necking muna bago mag-fracture while si brittle hindi. So, sudden yung fracture niya. Next is, discuss din natin yung mga types of material and yung mga Hooke's law. Pag Hooke's law, siya ay sa elastic region lang. Pag work hardening or strain hardening, siya ay sa plastic region. So, may mga strain energy din tayo. Then, creep, fatigue failure, then yung ating thin-walled pressure vessels na. Okay? So, any questions or clarifications for chapter number 5? Okay, so kung wala ng question, so lahat nga ng anong tawag dito, medyo madali lang kasi yung chapter 5. So sa tunay, medyo mas mahirap yung midterms. So kaya inuna natin yung mga shear, tension, compression, para dito, madali na lang. 'Di ba? By formula na lang to. Iisipin mo na lang, ano ba to, longitudinal or tangential. Basta tatandaan nyo lang kung ano, o sasauluhin nyo lang yung formula. Ito for katulad ng Poisson's ratio or longitudinal stress, hoop stress, sasauluhin nyo lang. So, yun. So, kung wala ng questions, clarifications, so thank you, engineers, and have a nice day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.